Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's so good to see such a large crowd here this evening. I'm Matthew Wilson. It is my privilege to serve as your interim state party chair for exactly 5 more days and not a single day more. And I don't know if y'all have heard, but we're going to be electing a new chair on Saturday. So we've had a few things going on in the state party, but this is our 3rd of 4 candidate forums, and we're really excited to be here in Toccoa tonight. So I want to say a very special thank you to the Stevens County Democrats, and in particular to Willis Crump and June Chris for their help in pulling this together tonight. And I want to say some very special thank yous to our co-hosts and ask them to stand and be recognized. Our Stevens County Chair, Margaret Payne. Margaret, where are you? Thank you. Please stand up so everyone can see. Of course, our 9th Congressional District Chair, June Chris, who I mentioned, is co-sponsoring, as well as she also serves as president of the Georgia Federation of Democratic Women. They are also a co-host tonight. One of her colleagues, our 10th Congressional District Chair, Canolis Scott. Canolis, thank you, sir, for your help tonight. Between June and Canolis, I know we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Also, thank you to the 9th Congressional District Federation of Democratic Women, and their president, Kim Floria, is here tonight, also a county party chair. And the Fanning County Federation of Democratic Women, their president, Ann Hickola, is here tonight. Ann, thank you very much. And I saw about 15 county party chairs. So if you are a county party chair, will you stand up, please? Look at this. Look at this representation we have here tonight. Thank you. Thank you all so much for all that you are doing. And I see so many different counties represented in this room tonight. In Toccoa, Georgia, I see DeKalb County is here, Fulton County is here. What other counties have we got here tonight? Camden. We got Cherokee, Camden is here, Floyd, what else? Newton County is here tonight, Oconee County is here tonight, Habersham, Jackson, Raven County, Banks County, Hart County, Towns County,
all the counties. All the counties.
Gilmer County, Union County, White County. Did we say Fannin County? Fannin County. Stevens County, of course. Clark County. Clark is here. Y'all, that's like half of Georgia already just in this room tonight. That's a hard thing to do. If you would, before we get started tonight, let's take a moment to honor the country that we're all fighting for right now. And I am going to put someone on the spot. And June, would you please come lead us in the pledge tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
All right. Before we jump into tonight's program, I just have a few quick announcements for you. I want to make sure you're aware. Of course, this is the 3rd, I said, of 4 statewide candidate forums that we're having for our chair candidates. The last forum we will have will be on Thursday in Statesboro. And we, of course, are live streaming this event just like we have for the other 2 forums that we had and the one in Statesboro that we'll have on Thursday. If you go to georgiademocrat.org/DPG election, you'll see the information for the Statesboro event, the link to RSVP, the link to submit a question, if you'd like to submit a question for these fine folks to answer live on stage. And you'll also see the links to the YouTube videos for the past forums if you just want to stream that at your leisure and all the free time that all of you have. I also want to put on your calendars and want to ask you each personally to please join us in Atlanta on May 20th. After we elect a chair, we are going to have a unity fundraiser. All of our chair candidates, raise your hand if you guys are going to join us on May 20th. That's all of them, folks. And I'll be there as well. We're going to have a bunch of, I'm sure, of our Democratic elected officials. We're going to have a fun little family party in Atlanta. This is a grassroots event. Tickets are $50. This is a fundraiser to raise money for the party, but mostly it's a chance for us to get together and talk about all the work we have going forward and to emerge from this election united. Now, we have sort of issued a challenge to our chair candidates to help us raise money because part of the role of chair is fundraising for the state party. So we invited each of the candidates for chair to raise money to be able to be on the host committee for this event. So if you go to our website, georgiademocrat.org/DPG election, you'll also see links for each of their Act Blue pages. If you want to purchase your ticket in support of one of these candidates, your ticket purchase will go towards their fundraising goal. So those links are on our website as well. Okay, I think with that, those are all the announcements. We can get on with the show. Let me walk you through the format for this evening, and if you've watched any of the other forums we've had, it's the exact same format. 2 minutes for an opening statement from each of these lovely folks sitting before you, and then I will ask questions that were submitted beforehand from many of you in this room, by the way, and then we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions of the candidates, followed by a 2-minute closing statement from each candidate. So with that, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll start with opening statements. Now, we've done alphabetical order and we've done reverse alphabetical order, so watch their faces of surprise. The first opening statement tonight is going to be from Wendy Davis.
I think I figured out how to use the mic by now. Woo. Hi everybody, my name is Wendy Davis. I apologize for the clipboard, but I'm a little rambly, so this will help me stay in that 2 minutes. I would be honored to earn your vote for chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. This turnout is amazing. I'm very proud of you, and thanks to all of our hosts. Y'all, I've spent my adult life actively working for every level of our Democratic Party, from learning the ropes as a young Democrat to working for more than two dozen years for my county party. And I've been an active member of the state committee and the state executive committee, and I lift up the voices of Southern and rural voters as your representative to the Democratic National Committee. I've been elected twice as a city commissioner in Rome, and when I tried to kick my political habit of working as a political consultant and took a job as alumni director at Berry College, in those 2 roles in particular, I developed a solid record as a transformational leader. I take pride in finding common ground and building lasting relationships while standing firm on our progressive values. I'm a collaborative, strategic, and results-driven leader. And these are the qualities we need if we're going to change the party and become more unified and more effective. Those of you in the room know our failings as a party. Too often we thrust too much of the work on too few shoulders, leaving too many leaders and voters feeling unheard and disrespected. With this new chapter of our party, with me as your chair, I want to usher in an era of we, all of us doing the work. Just think about the state committee. There are more than 300 of us. They've all raised their hand and said, I want to lead. I want to let you, and make sure you're supported in our counties, in our affiliate groups, in our caucuses and councils, in all the leadership roles. Look forward to your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Our next candidate is Nikita Hemingway. Is Nikita here yet? Okay. Next, we will have Charlie Bailey.
Good evening, Stevens County. We had another spate of polls come out over the weekend saying what a number of them have been saying in the last couple of months, and that is that the Democratic Party's disapproval ratings are at historic highs, and our approval ratings are at historic lows. But at the same time, the only hope for working people in this country and in this state is the Democratic Party. The only hope for the idea that somebody's not going to be snatched off the street in broad daylight, hauled off to God knows where, without a lawyer, without evidence, is the Democratic Party. And so if you hold both those things in your mind at the same time, then you understand the burden that it's placed on the state party to do its one job. And I do believe it only has one job. That is to elect as many Democrats to as many offices across this state as is humanly possible. And if we say that, then what do we say that the state party chair has got to do? Well, I submit to you three things principally. First, we got to raise a tremendous amount of money. I've raised well over $4 million in my 2 runs for statewide office as AG nominee in 2018, the lieutenant governor nominee in 2022. I know how to raise major money as the principal, and I bust my butt doing that every day. Number 2, we got to spend that money strategically and directly to elect Democrats in these seats. No more of these people, our folks, fighting with one arm or 2 arms behind their back. Number 3, we got to spend that money to build up, build back, and build from scratch, some places, our infrastructure across this state, so we're not reinventing the wheel of organization every time a big election comes around. I will do those 3 things. And if you elect me your chair, I'll make you proud. Thank you all very much.
Next we have Nabila, Islam Parks.
Hello, good evening. I'm State Senator Nabila Islam Parks. I'm the daughter of working class immigrants from Bangladesh who came to this country seeking the American dream. My dad was a file clerk, and growing up, my mom was an order puller at a warehouse. I'm a twice elected state senator, and I've fought close races and I've won. But prior to being an elected official, I was a Democratic campaign operative, a fundraiser, and an organizer. I worked for Secretary Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and was a national fundraiser during that time. I was also a national fundraiser for the DNC under Chairman Tom Perez, where I helped raise millions of dollars to rebuild our national infrastructure the first time Donald Trump won. And right now I'm running for state party chair because we need to fight back more than ever. We need to be bold, we need to be aggressive, and we need to be loud. And folks, I have a plan. I will use my fundraising expertise to raise tens of millions of dollars for the state party. As I mentioned, I've raised over $50 million for Democrats up and down the ballot. And I will commit myself to raising the money that we need to fund our operations here. Also, we need infrastructure. We need a field apparatus and regional organizers and canvassers from our communities knocking on doors throughout the year, on year and the off year. So if you're running for city council, you're running for Congress, or you're running for US Senate, we have door knockers on the ground to help you. And also, we need aggressive candidate recruitment. We need to flip the state legislature, and we need to invest in our candidates. And I will make sure as state party chair that no Republican runs uncontested. Because when we run Democrats, we expand the electorate and we turn out the vote. And one last thing I want to mention, I have worked with my county party. I've helped them raise hundreds of thousands of dollars back in 2020, and we put together a robust GeoTV program. And so I want to be a true partner to our county parties and make sure they have the financial resources to succeed. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you more about my plan.
Thank you, Nabila. Next is Hardy Davis.
Thank you so much, Matt. I want to thank the good folks of Stevens County. June, I've had a chance to talk to you, but Margaret, we have put a donkey together out front with a nice bow and a ribbon on it. Give her a hand for that incredible work. Yeah, fantastic. What a warm welcome invitation that we received. I've served as the mayor of Augusta for the previous 8 years. Prior to that, I served 5 years in the Georgia Senate, and prior to that, I served 3 years in the House of Representatives. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I've done the work of what it is to be a Democrat. In the state Senate, I served and was able to support legislation. In fact, I carried this legislation that kept over 22,000 Georgians from losing $176 million of unemployment benefits back in 2011. This is the work of Democrats. This is the work that we as Democrats do for working families. My father was a union man for 31 years in the utility industry. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to do 4 primary things. Number 1, you've heard other candidates talk about it, and that is make sure that we build year-round infrastructure in 159 counties. Now, what does that really look like? Not 159 counties have charter parties, but what we do have is communities of interest where there are regional hubs that we can create an opportunity to build that year-round infrastructure, of where secondly, we then identify, recruit, train, and run candidates that are Democrats, from sheriff's races to city councils to county commissions to mayor's offices to judges to district attorneys to solicitors, those races that are under attack right now by Republicans, where we can't have good Democrats who serve even as district attorneys in counties and communities just like yours. And then it's important for us to take young Democrats, not invite them to the table, but give them the microphone. They are our future, but they're our now. That's what we've not spent time doing as Democrats in this great state. And so I want us to go from having them serve as volunteers to being equal partners in the process of democracy. We have to have young Democrats being able to do that. We'll talk more about it in a few minutes.
They're getting really good at the timer. Next, we have Jay Jones.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. My name is James J. Jones. And what I saw when we did the introduction was something phenomenal. We have leadership in the building. Because leadership here in this district is just as important as leadership across the whole state of Georgia. And so those people who sit as chair leadership, I've sat there before. I was the chair of Chatham County for 4 years. Before I was the chair of Chatham County for 4 years, I was also the vice chair. So I didn't just jump in the role, I learned the role from sitting from behind. And then before that, I was on executive committees. And from that piece right there, jumping into the chair role, an opportunity happened. And I became a congressional district chair. And I shared conversations with June Chris, Cornelius, and my other friend, Maria Badger, who's also president as well. We have candid conversations across the state. We already have a structure already developed. We just need to start using it. And a lot of times the party has not allowed us to do so. And we need leadership that's gonna already be in existence, but we also got a lot of good plans, a lot of good conversations that have come and transpired. And it's great for us to have this opportunity. I think the Democratic Party has been given the greatest blessing in the world. We have an opportunity to change the narrative. And the only way that narrative is going to change is if everybody in this room, across the whole state, gets together and works together to make that change happen. It's going to be hard, tough conversations to make that happen. But if we're willing to put aside our differences and have those hard, tough conversations and start working together, we can change Georgia and make Georgia proud and be democratic in everything it does. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Jay. And finally, Elena, excuse me. I saw it, as soon as I read it, Elena Sanders.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I agree with all of my counterparts. We align with every vision and mission of the Democratic Party. But one of the things we did not mention is that we must listen. I've spoken to many of you in the room, and I went to you to ask questions. What is the problem? What is the issue? What do you see as happening in your community? Many of you said you have not heard from the Democratic Party. Many of you say that you need funding, and you've asked questions and the response time hasn't been given to you. That's the issue. That is a problem. I stand before you as a college professor who teaches business marketing as well as a former business chair, where I teach operation management and was an operation manager. And one of the things I believe in is strategy and structure, which is what the Democratic Party lacks. We don't even have a plan, folks. The Republican Party has a whole playbook, and it's called Project 2025. They've been working on it for many, many years. Where is the Democratic Party's playbook? We don't have one. We have an election coming in June, and many residents in the state of Georgia, especially Democrats, have no idea that they have to come back to the poll to elect their next public service commissioner. That is a problem. Many seniors have screamed about their bills, the utility bills and everything that's happening, but because we don't have a strategy and a plan, that is a problem. I come before you as a proven leader. I'm a former county commissioner as well, so I know what it feels like to fight on the local level and not hear or get information from the state and on the federal level. I'm also a project manager as well as I've done fundraising. I've raised $4 million just for my community because I saw a need for the youth to build a youth facility. I'm not a person who's going to sit back and wait for somebody to tell me to do it. If I see a problem, I'm going to solve it. That's why they call me the change agent. I want to come in and help and work with our state committee because you all have not been receiving information, been disseminated down to you. I've asked what the operation budget is for the Democratic Party. None of y'all know. That's the problem. I stand before you as Elena Sanders. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. And just for the sake of the room, while those opening statements were being given, Nikita Hemingway texted me to let me know that her son, unfortunately, was involved in a car accident this evening. He's going to be okay, but she's not going to be able to join us tonight. So that's why she's unable to be here. Okay, we're going to spend the rest of the night talking about what these folks' plans are if they win the chair's election. But I want to start the first question, what their plan is if they lose the election. Some of you hold elected office or a formal role within the state party or your county parties. Regardless, each of you have a very important role in unifying our party after this race. What can we expect to see from you over the next year and a half if you lose the election on Saturday? And let's start with Nabila.
Well, I'm always going to be a party builder. As you've seen from my resume, I've worked with the national party, I've worked for another state party, and I've held my county party. I'm not going to disappear. I'm going to double down and make sure that we elect more Democrats, because right now we're living in unprecedented times, and we have to fight back, and I will fight with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabila. And she understood the assignment. I failed to provide this ahead of time, but this is a 30-second question. We're going to do a lightning round because this should be an easy answer, right? Next, Charlie Bailey.
I'll continue to do what I've been doing, which is raising thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for Democratic candidates, serving as an advisor, formal, informal, or otherwise, serving as a pro bono lawyer for Democratic causes, as I did last year when 5 local board of election members needed to sue the state election board about the nonsense they're doing. I'm going to stay in the fight because I've always been in the fight because I was raised by a mother on stories of Bobby Kennedy's 1968 campaign. So y'all and Democrats are in my bones, and I'm not going anywhere. Thank you.
Jay Jones.
I've already said where I sit at. I'm a first congressional district chair. My work didn't stop when I started running. Actuality, when Saturday, I was actually at a posting order election, making sure we got people set in the office. So my work doesn't stop. It's not going to stop because we have a lot of work that needs to be done. So I will continue to work and make things happen, and that's the easy answer.
Elena.
I've never stopped, even from being an elected official. I'm a public servant, not a politician. I work with organizations that actually have been doing the work for years. I'm the president of the 13th Congressional District Federation of Democratic Women. So I align myself with the values and mission of the Democratic Party. I believe in electing those that need to be electable in those positions and flipping those seats. So you don't have to worry about me because I'm gonna keep doing the work whether I win, lose, or draw.
Hardy.
Doing the work with Democrats, helping elect people up and down the ballot, but with your support, I'll win on Saturday.
Wendy.
I indeed will continue to be your DNC member, lifting up the voices of Southern and rural voters for you. But more importantly, I'm going to keep doing what I've done just because it's what I do. Helping my county party. I'm our voter protection captain. I answer every phone call and take every question they've got. I'm going to support other county parties as I have over and over again and do things like we had a North Georgia gathering in 2023 to talk about municipal elections and voter protection. And I helped recruit Dr. Elena Johnson to run for the 2nd District Public Service Commission seat, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she flips that seat in November.
Okay, so they're all going to keep trucking along with us. Let's move into some of the pre-submitted questions. Richard and several others have asked, what are you proposing to get out the vote in rural areas? Are you willing to organize the DPG outreach efforts in a regional way without everything being centralized in Atlanta? Let's start with Jay.
The easy answer, I've already spoken of it when I did my introduction. We already have the systems already in line. We can start day one. We can start right now if you really want to start. You have 14 congressional district chairs. It's already set in motion. Matter of fact, Jeremy Sharp, could you stand for me? There's a young man right now in the room who's already presented a strategic plan to the Democratic Party of Georgia. So there is a plan that has been out there. It's not active, but it's a plan that's actually being given. So we have the talent, we have the opportunity, we just gotta get motivated and do what we gotta do. Charlie said that we're down as low as possible when it comes to our approval rating. That approval rating is low because you know why? We're not talking to each other. We're talking at each other, away from each other, and around each other. But we're not talking to each other. And I said in my last couple of sessions that we have to drive the car. Car is being consistent, accountable, and relatable. If we're not hitting those 3 points right there, we're not going to do what's right to fix the problem in the party of Georgia. And the party of Georgia should have already been Democrat a long time ago. The problem is when we flipped in 2020, we didn't flip our own resources and our own identity to make sure we matched the effort we should have been doing. The only way we can do that is we got to take the opportunity and drive that car forward. Consistent, accountable, and relatable.
Wendy. Yep. What are you proposing to get out the vote in rural areas? Are you willing to organize the DPG outreach efforts in a regional way without everything being centralized in Atlanta?
Yes, and not just yes, but hell yes. We can't stay in a high-rise office tower in Atlanta and organize Georgia. Y'all know that.
Yeah.
You don't have to live in Rome like I do to know that. Y'all know that because you live in places like Rome. You also already know the answer. Building our foundation is our county committees. We have to give you the resources. We have to give you the lift, the help. We've got to bring y'all together. We've got to convene opportunities for y'all to share ideas because you're doing amazing things. I'm remembering right, Raven County is already doing a lot of work on messaging, right? I came to your event and y'all are nailing our values, right? You know how to reach our neighbors. Reaching our neighbors is harder than reaching solidly Democratic areas, but we have to do both and we have to be next to the people to understand what works in each community. And I'm prepared to do just that, make sure we have year-round organizing. So we're not starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And this year we have amazing opportunities with those public service commissioner seats and hundreds of municipal races. We may not be able to flip our counties, but we can be like me and get elected to city commission, get elected to city council, elect a mayor, elect school board members. Any city in this state has enough Democrats to do that, and we can outwork them. They're still doing shaking hands, kissing babies, and putting out yard signs. We're more sophisticated. We can make it happen everywhere across the state and be ready for next year when we have to re-elect Senator Ossoff and win all those statewide races.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. Next will be Elena. Now you're going to have me sing the whole night long. Elena.
Wendy kind of said what I was going to say. First of all, you have to be present. I know that the chair has not been present, previous chairs, I'm not going to talk about past, but has not been present to see what happens. I live in Newton County, although it's not farther in the rural areas, a little bit close to Atlanta, but we are rural. We have Walton County around us, we have Jasper, we have Morgan, those are all rural areas, and I have not seen a DPG come out to help us as well, and we have to do better. One of the other things is we have to make sure we have the target market for every area. When we are not consistently marketing for candidates, we're not consistently marketing for the branding of the Democratic Party, because many don't believe in the vision and the values of the Democratic Party. They have lost faith. So we have to rebrand first, so we can get those individuals in the rural area to believe in the Democratic Party of Georgia mission, and that we will help them. And once we have all that information together, making sure that we're consistently providing the resources to that area so they can be successful. We can throw money at stuff every day, all day, but if we don't know the problem to solve it, then it doesn't help. Money is not gonna solve it until you know what the issue is. So we have to make sure we get that information out and be present and consistently marketing in those areas to get people to the polls.
Thank you, Elaine. If so, we can switch it up. Yeah. Charlie.
So I'm from a rural part of the state, Harris County, on the western border of the state, right above Columbus. I know what it feels like for Mama to drive around in the car with the Toccoa sticker on the back. And there weren't any other cars with Toccoa stickers on the back. I've also been, as you know, 2-time statewide nominee. I know full well that 50 votes in Toccoa count exact same as 50 in Harris and 50 in Athens and 50 in Atlanta. If we aren't fighting everywhere for our votes, we're going to continue to slide in 130 of the 159 counties, and we won't re-elect Senator Ossoff, and we won't get a governor, and we won't re-elect Senator Warnock in 3 years. So yes, we got to organize everywhere, because all the votes count the same. Regional organizing, of course, does make sense because the different regions of the state have different, similarities up in the mountains and even the Northwest and the Northeast and all that. But also, I'll say this, we gotta have a message that gives us credibility, not just with Democrats, but with all these voters that are vast majority are waking up and thinking, is my kid safe? How they doing in school? If I get a hospital bill, can I pay it? We're gonna hammer the Republicans on that.
Thank you, Charlie. Hardy.
Thank you. I said this earlier to Tammy Burrows from White County that I fully support the regional idea. I think I started that conversation from the perspective of creating regional hubs, 25 to 40 counties where we can drive up the numbers. We can consistently do that, and we can win Democratic seats from the bottom of the ticket to the top of the ticket. But in addition to doing that, we've got to make sure that it's not only hyper-local, but we've got to re-engage our core constituencies. That's one of the things that we failed to do in previous elections, where we did not re-engage our core constituencies and we left people out. They didn't come back out and vote again. We've got to fix that, and that's what I intend to do as the next chair, working on our core constituencies, bringing people back into the fold, back into this Big Ten of ours, to include young Democrats as well, making sure that they've got a seat at the table and a microphone in their hand. We also have to do this, and you'll hear all of us as candidates talk about this, rebranding the Democratic Party. At the end of the day, we got to be proud of being Democrats. Proud of being Democrats who are people of faith, proud of being Democrats who have good schools, safe communities, and want good jobs in our communities, so that everybody, as Democrats, want to be a part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Hardy. Nabila.
So we need a plan, a strategic plan that includes the voices of counties in rural Georgia. And when it comes to getting out the vote, I believe it needs to be a regional approach. Our county committees know what the issues are in their communities, and they have their own message. Here's what they need help with. They need financial resources. They need resources to pay their canvassers. They need resources to, get volunteer food. But they need resources, and that is something that I'm committed to making sure that our county parties have. I want to start a grant program where county parties can apply for funding, and the DPG will disperse those funds. I also want to make sure that our county parties have the right data, so they know who they're targeting. So activity doesn't mean progress. I want to make sure that we're making an impact here. And then I also want to make sure that we're doing trainings, that we come down to where you are. You don't have to go to Atlanta, and do trainings with you guys about digital tools and how to get out the vote. So funding and trainings is something that I'm committed to, and having folks in our county committees lead the message. Thank you.
Virginia wants to know, Donald Trump and the Republican Party is attracting more young voters, especially those between 18 and 30, according to a recent Yale study. The Democratic Party's most loyal voters are those 65 plus. But we need to have leaders who can attract and bring young people back into the Democratic Party. What will you do to bring young people to the Democratic Party and keep them engaged? Charlie.
You know, I'm kind of a political nerd, so I came up on these stories about the New Deal and what was accomplished by Democrats and then in the Great Society with Medicare and Medicaid. I love all those old stories. But you talk to young folks, and I can't believe I'm saying young folks like it's something. But you talk to young folks about all that, you might as well be talking about ancient Egypt. I mean, that is not, what we did in the past is not a compelling argument to vote for us now with people that got real things in their life. They're dealing with affordability that nobody in this room, I think, ever had to deal with, the stresses that they're under. We have got to have a message that is not about what we've done in the past, but about what we're going to do in the future, that we're going to have, at least in Georgia, at least a $15 minimum wage, that we're going to reform the tax code so it's not rewarding billionaires and big corporations and lobbyists, but rewarding work. We got to give young people the idea that we're going to fight for them and their ability to build a life with more opportunity than the one that their parents had.
Party.
Matt, if you repeat the question, I think the battery's about down this one.
If it does, we can just switch over and use that one. What will you do to bring young people to the Democratic Party and keep them engaged?
Well, I'll start with what I've said a moment ago. We've got to invite them to be a part of the process as equal partners, not just volunteers. We don't need them coming back into the conversation to run national campaigns or statewide conversations when we're only running campaigns for the gubernatorial, the top ticket campaigns. That's first and foremost. And then when we invite them to the table, we've got to give them an opportunity as strategists, as operators, to tell us what do they see from the Democratic Party perspective of how to lead from the front and not just from behind. They are, again, our future now, not down the road. The second thing is taking their great intellect and wisdom in terms of how we deploy resources across the state of Georgia. Many of our young folks are extremely talented from a technology perspective. We have to leverage them in these broader conversations as we are not only identifying, recruiting, and training. And then that's really one of the most important parts. It's one thing to have them doing the work of Democrats, but it's another thing for us to begin electing them at the local level as mayors, city council members, sheriffs, and so forth. We must do a better job of that, and that's what I'll do as the next chair of the Democratic Party.
Jay.
When I step out of the role as being the chair of the Chatham County Democratic Committee, when I step out of the role of being a county commissioner here in the state of Georgia, I didn't step out of the role with already having a plan. And that plan was finding somebody younger than me to fill that shoes. So in both of those seats, there's a young man named Aaron Adot Whiteley. He sits in that role as the chair of the party in Chatham County, and he also sits in the county commission seat that I used to sit in. And you know what the bigger piece was? I told him all the pitfalls that I had went through to make sure he didn't have to go through those same pitfalls. So he sped up his process even more. This is what we do as Democrats. When we find young leaders that can do the job and replace what we do, then we empower them and we teach them and we motivate them to do better. If I didn't do that, he was willing to go down a different road and try to run for something that was going to be hard for him to obtain. But we gave him a platform, we gave him a focus, and we gave him a drive and gave him an opportunity. And I tell you, he's not just succeeding in Chatham County in the state of Georgia, he's also succeeding on the national scene.
Nabila.
So as the only young Democrat running for chair, and as a young person, thank you. I will tell you what young people want. I know that young folks they're disillusioned because they want the Democratic Party to fight back. They want us to pack a punch. They want us to hold Republicans accountable for their bad policies. And so when I'm chair, I will make sure that our party has a 365, 24/7 war room where we're doing rapid responses and we're holding the Republicans' feet to the fire. And young people want us to also communicate on the channels that they are getting their news from. That's TikTok, that's Twitter, being very active on social media. This is the way to get young voters back, and being very savvy about it and clever about it, because Gen Z is a very clever generation. And so, that's how I think that we get them back, is just engaging, meeting them where they're at, and fighting back, because they really want us to be fighters. And I am a fighter. Thank you.
Wendy.
Thank you. Well, I'm a no longer young Democrat, even if you let me change my date of birth a bit, like we did a lot in my young Democrat days, because people were so excited about the work they were doing, they want to stay in even if they weren't young anymore. We have to change how we are reaching young people. The Republicans for years have courted young people, have brought them into fancy events. I'm talking events with caviar. We don't have many caviar events, and I'm not wanting us to spend our money on caviar, but the point is they made them feel valued and necessary and like they had a path to something big. Why are kids destroying our government at the behest of Doge? Because they've been groomed into that. I hate to use that word, but that's what has happened. And I don't want to emulate the bad things they're doing, but I do want us to figure out how to get young people to know we value them, their wisdom, their energy, and we'll talk more about it when I have another minute.
Elena.
Well, my daughter college friends told me I was fly, so I'm holding on to that. So I guess I appease to the young crowd. But one of the things I'm already doing that I partner with the Young Democrats. We started a conference called Lead the Change with Devontae Jennings, who is actually the president of the Young Democrats. And so him and I started this conference for those who starting age 14 all the way to 25 to raise up the young leaders and to teach them about being a leader and about politics. And now I'm going to take off my candidate hat and put on my college professor marketing hat. One of the things we have not done is look at our target market. Those who are Generation Y, Z, Millennials, X, and Baby Boomers want different things. We have to know what each generation wants. We cannot compare what a Baby Boomer wants to a Generation Y and a Z. We're not listening. We have to pay attention to their needs. We have to change our messaging. The messaging for me as a Generation X is not going to be the same messaging to get out the vote to what I want. I want to be able to have retirement when I finish my job. That is not what they're looking for right now. A lot of them are not even loyal to a job. So we have to make sure we find out what they want at that age and find out what they need in order to get out the vote from that age limit. Thank you.
Okay, this next question is going to be a 30-second question. Sarita wants to know, the 24-hour news cycle, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and other media platforms have caused many voters to completely disconnect. What is your communications plan to make sure that Democratic messaging is breaking through in every part of the state? Let's start with Hardy.
The communication plans is one that's multi-pronged. Text messages get to everybody's phone. I know we get tired of them, but text messages get to everybody's phone. We've got to then use the digital tools, social media, Instagram, Facebook. People are on Facebook and Instagram all the time. And so we have to use those tools. I think that is a method of communicating, but we cannot lose sight of that when it's critical data and information that we need, it's called a phone call. It's making sure that we call our county chairs, communicating what needs to be communicated. It's called communicating by phone with our congressional district chairs and using that as one of our primary vehicles and tools. And then, of course, communicating with tools such as Zoom, Google Meets, and all of those things that allow us to communicate in real time to the party leaders that oftentimes get left behind and don't get information until it's too late.
Thank you, Hardy. Elena.
Well, I just kind of talked about that a few minutes ago. Social media is my thing. I wrote the first college textbook on social media marketing with Pearson Education. So anything with social media and getting people to understand the meaning of it and teaching them how to use it. First, we need to offer training because everybody does not know how to use the network. We can use social media to reach the masses, but we have those who have no idea how to Snapchat, how to TikTok, how to Facebook, then we're losing them. And I hear them laughing. So we have to train our voters to be able to utilize those tools because that's where the young people are and that's the new direct marketing. So we have to make sure that we are training all of our Democrat voters on how to reach those networks and make sure they are accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay.
One thing I've learned from young people is analytics. If you don't understand analytics in your environment or who you communicate with, you're not understanding who you're trying to communicate with. And I tried to make sure the young folk understand analytics for older generational people are different from younger generational people. I can tell you all day long, if I send my mother a Twitter, she's not gonna answer. But if I call her, she'll reply. If I text her, she'll reply. So understanding how analytics works and how communication works is the biggest thing we can ever do. And we have to strive to make sure we have a multifaceted tool in our box to communicate across the board to everybody.
Okay, this is also a 30-second question, very similar to the one I just asked, but slightly different. So listen carefully. Georgia has many more media markets beyond Atlanta, I'm told. Yes. How will you get favorable news coverage out in other parts of the state? Nabila.
I mean, we need to, listen, Democrats need to control the narrative. For far too long, Republicans define us. We can't let that happen anymore. We need to define them and call them out for their misdeeds. When it comes to TV media, we just need to make sure that we are communicating and pitching stories in every corner of the state. News gets syndicated all over the state of Georgia. So we just need to make sure that we are pitching the right folks, we're talking to reporters in all corners of the state and making sure that our message is showing up on TV, it's showing up on the radio, and it's showing up on social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy.
Thank you. We just have to make it local. Just add one of your names to a story and it'll get in the papers up here, right? I mean, you have to build those relationships, right? They are not fair and balanced, but sometimes they want to act like they are. Let's make sure we're there when they're ready for that. And how we reach young people, how we reach everybody, we have to maximize our usage of every tool in our toolbox. I want to have action teams that are going out, and if your county committee doesn't even know how to use Facebook, let's start there, right? We need to be using the young people in our party as leaders in not just using those tools, but finding avenues for communication that are not directly political. We all have other interests. Football, baseball for me. Some people like knitting. We have to be having conversations in all the different spaces, not just purely political ones.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is for everybody, and so this will be a 1-minute question. This comes from the Veterans Caucus. How do you plan to engage and collaborate with key constituency groups such as veterans organizations to ensure their legislative priorities are heard and advanced? And I want to tweak this just a little bit and ask, what is the role of the state party when we have Democrats in elected office in the state legislature or in Congress, when we're all talking about bills that they're voting on? What do you see as the role of the state party? Let's start with, I'm trying to be fair, guys. Give me well, I'm really asking two questions into one. The question was posed from the Veterans Caucus about what you are going to do as the next chair to ensure their legislative priorities are heard and advanced. But I want to make it a little bit more global, and if you can incorporate into your answer, what do you see is the role of the state party when it comes to legislative bills and agendas? And let's start with Wendy.
Thank you. As the daughter of a World War II vet, I grew up all my life understanding the sacrifices families make when they serve in the military. We do not do enough to reach our veterans. We do not understand that they have all these issues that are our issues. And they have issues of the government not giving them their proper services. And we're the people who want to fix that. We have to take advantage of these mistakes that the Republicans are making right now. And they're injuring our veterans who offered up their very lives for our country. We have to stand up for them. We have to stand up for them legislatively. I know this is going to sound really weird, but my dad fought in the Philippines, and for years and years, Congress said they were going to help the Filipinos who fought with us. And they never did, and they just kept dying and dying and dying. But I got the congressman I worked for to stand up for that issue. We finally passed that issue. It's too late for most of those veterans, but we have to do that kind of work.
Thank you. Jay. Yes. What will you do to ensure veterans organizations' legislative priorities are heard in advance, and what did you see as the role of the state party when it comes to specific legislative bills and agendas?
I think that's a great question. I think one of the things we need to my father was a Vietnam veteran, and he did 2 or 3 tours over there in Vietnam. However, when we're talking about veteran issues, and we're talking about any kind of issues, I think as a party, we should be the front line as far as what's going to go into the agenda. We know when session is in session. So whatever kind of correspondence is going to be brought before us as Democrats collectively, we should already know so we can be cheering on in those Republican areas, so we can have our people on the ground talking to their legislators. And so we can have a united front, and so we can get some crossover bipartisan rules going through. But if we're not talking to the Senate and the House on the local level, then we're going to lose those opportunities. So it's very important for communication. We just had that conversation. It's important for us to have that communication, because when we're having that communication, then we can get things done. Because we can get bipartisan bills done, and we can get partisan bills done. And we can make sure we shape the language that the Republicans are bringing to us is in better form.
Pardon.
I'm fortunate enough to have a number of family members who are veterans. With my right hand, Joe Walters over here is also a veteran. I can't go anywhere in the state without him right next to me. It's work that I've already been doing. One of the things that we've got to do as Democrats and as the next chair is making sure that we take the fight to the Republicans who are looking for every opportunity to dismantle our VA hospitals across the great state of Georgia. We've got to fix that. We've got to fight for that resource in our communities. Augusta's probably got more veterans in and around our region than any other place in the state of Georgia. Now with the Cyber Center of Excellence at Fort Eisenhower. And so it's extremely important for us to, as a party, to be a part of producing legislation, good public policy that we can provide to our members of the Senate and the House that help us advance the cause of when we've got veterans who are coming into our community, and we've got active duty service members coming into our communities to make it easier for them to get into our schools, to make it easier for spouses to work in our communities as well. Those are things that we've already been doing in Augusta, and we'll continue to do it as the next chair of this party.
I know we're speaking on legislation, but I'm going to take it a little farther. With the National Association of Counties, I have presidential appointments where I work with Veteran Services, so I talk directly to those who worked on the federal level for Veteran Services. The Commissioner of Veteran Services for the state of Georgia, y'all know we have a Commissioner for the Veteran Services of the state of Georgia? She told me I was the first commissioner to ever ask to meet with her to find out what all the services that we have in the state of Georgia. That's the problem. We don't meet with the people that are in the office to find out the services. She said a lot of veterans have no idea these services are provided. So yes, we're creating bills and legislation, but they have no idea the services and the access. I also was the first one to bring down the Veteran Mobile Clinic to the 13th Congressional District. There's an actual Veteran Mobile Clinic on wheels that will come to you if you cannot get the services. We have to find the resources and go to the people who have the access to it. The Democratic Party needs to be talking to these people on the federal level and on the state level that holds the purse strings. And if they don't do that, then we won't know what we need for our veterans. Thank you.
Nabila.
So Democrats are fighting for veterans. I actually sit on the Veterans Committee in the Senate, and I introduced legislation to have low-interest loans up to $10,000 for our Georgia veterans that they can use for housing, medical needs, or food. And I worked with the Veterans Commissioner on this. And I introduced it, and I did my own messaging on it. But I believe the DPG's role is to work with their House and Senate caucus and amplify the good work that they're doing. We have a big microphone, and we need to be using it to amplify all the great work that Democrats in the state are doing. Because folks are saying, what are you doing? What's the work that you're doing for us? And I want it to be known all throughout the state that we're fighting for veterans. Look at this legislation that we've introduced, and this is what we're doing is X, Y, and Z. And I think the DPG should play a role in that, in amplifying the messages of the state legislature. Thank you.
Charlie.
We have people, in our party like Eustacia McLeod in Cobb County as a state committee member and a veteran that has connections with veterans groups all over the state and all over the country. We should be able to, and I will convene the knowledge that we have with our legislators before they go into session to hear from the veterans about what are some bills, what are some improvements that they would like to see. So whether, some of our legislators already have some of those relationships, but others don't. And so just making sure we're making that connection, making sure they have the updated information about what the veterans want, that's an easy fix we make sure we do before going into session. And we do need to be, Nabila's right, a lot more active with the caucus in both promoting what they're doing and also making sure that our research department, which I will build in the party, is going to be doing that oppo research on Republicans, making sure they have access to all of that. So while they're trying to pass good bills and maybe get Republicans on board with veterans issues, they're also able to beat the fool out of Republicans on the floor about the bad things they're doing.
If you are a veteran and you're here with us tonight, would you please stand up? Thank you for your service and for being here with us and for being a Democrat. Okay, Kim asks, what is your plan for allocating resources and money to engage the minority voter groups, in particular, the Latino vote, which is one of the fastest growing voter blocks in Georgia? Let me ask it one more time. What is your plan, because she's asking for specifics, what is your plan for allocating resources and money to engage the minority voting groups, in particular, the Latino vote, which is one of the fastest growing voter blocks in Georgia? Let's start with Elena.
As you can see, I'm a minority. I'm also African American and Hispanic. I have a Cuban side as well. My mother's Cuban. So let's start talking marketing. Who are your number one spenders in the United States of America? Latinos. We are not addressing the people that actually are holding our economy and keeping it afloat. They're not being brought to the conversation, and they're not being asked what they need and what we need to provide to them. Again, I keep saying the research, we're not doing it. We're not talking to the people that need the funding. And the minority groups, the underserved areas, need the funding to get the vote out. Yes, the 92% has been holding down the elections, but we have to make sure we're consistently involving and bringing them to the conversation. So my job is to make sure that those fundings are going back to those communities, to make sure that we bring them in and make sure they are registered first, because all of them are not registered. We need to make sure that they are voting. And once we get them in voting, make sure the messaging that's going to them is fitting that actual group and not the same messaging that's given to all. This is not a one-size-fits-all situation. Thank you.
Charlie.
We have some county parties that are doing really good work around particularly Hispanic outreach, Latino outreach, and organizing. One of the best ways to do that is the neighbor-to-neighbor kind of organizing. We need to make sure, yes, we're investing the funds so they have, all our county committees have the tools, but also that we're training them on the most up-to-date organizing techniques so that in their communities, they're being the most effective about having the right messengers talk to folks in those communities, particularly the Hispanic community, where they're not all first generation, they're second generation and third generation, understanding the difference there, understand the difference between English first and Spanish first, making sure that the organizers understand that difference when they're out there in the field. We got to invest in that kind of organizing and making sure that our people are trained. This is why, I want to have and we're going to have an annual convention every year. We're not just going to have one every 4 years. It's going to be a working convention where that kind of organizing techniques and tools are taught. And then it'll be the anchor for the year, so that all our people around the state, they get rebuilt every year to have what they need to be in the communities and doing this work.
Thank you. In addition to my work with the party, I'm involved in a lot of other progressive organizations. One of those is the Galeo Impact Fund, whose work is lifting up the voices of our Latino population in Georgia. So I have a good grounding in this. The reality is we have to put the right funding in to make sure we are, first of all, in language, not just for the Latino community, but we have lots of different languages we need to have our information in, and our county committees should have access to that. It should be given to them. That's important resources, but we have to find the trusted voices. It's not necessarily going to be people who come to our Thursday night or Saturday morning meetings. We have to be very intentional about finding leaders in the community and finding out from them how we reach their neighbors. And you have to keep trying. It's hard. Right now, our Latino neighbors want to stay hidden because these are frightening times.
Thank you. Party.
I think it's much of what's already been said, but I think it's also taking a page out of our playbook, and that's bringing trusted voices from the faith community. We all find sanctuary in the local church. And one of the things that I think is so critical for us as Democrats is to make sure that we're re-engaging and reconnecting with our core constituents through the medium of faith, understanding that we can all come and have a common ground conversation, and whether it's blacks, whether it's Latins, whether it's AAPIs or Native Americans, we have to reconnect with our core constituencies, and there's something that brings us to a place of holistic community when it revolves around our faith. A sanctuary there's an opportunity for us to have trusted voices, credible voices, and then we also have to bring the business community back into this conversation, particularly where our Latin brothers and sisters are concerned. That's what we'll do as your next chair.
Thank you. Jay.
Easy answer is this. You find partners within the organization. Whenever I'm sorry. You find partners in the organization. The easy answer is Maggie Martinez. Maggie Martinez is south of Atlanta. Whenever I got a question or anything regarding the party as far as Hispanic or Latino, I give her a call. I also sit on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for the Democratic Party of Georgia. As a vice chair, I represent the African American side, and I got a partner named Nico. He represents this Hispanic side. And we have candid conversations about what we need to do. And we also understand the biggest Hispanic population in the state of Georgia is just south of y'all, in Gwinnett County. And so understanding that Gwinnett County has that issue, in Gwinnett County you have Hispanics and Latinos that, like Wendy said, are scared for their lives right now. What is the Democratic Party going to do to help them? We have to go out there and make sure our brothers and sisters are available, because next year we have an election. This year we have an election. We have a public service commissioner who's going to be running for office, and that's going to be critical to all Georgians in the state of Georgia. So we need to be clear about having that conversation with everybody.
In order to flip Georgia blue again, we have to build a coalition like we did in 2020, and that includes Hispanic voters. I live in a county with the highest number of Hispanic voters, Gwinnett County, and we just need to talk to them. Because right now, Hispanic voters tend to be low propensity voters, and Democrats overlook them. But low propensity voters still vote, and we need to reach out to them and message them on the issues that they care about. I helped my county party raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in 2020, where we ran Facebook ads in Spanish that were very effective. I also, in 2022, they brought me on to help raise $50,000 to send out in-language ads. We sent out ads in Spanish, in print media, and online. Meeting the Hispanic community where they're at is very important, but we have to invest in them, because you know what happened? Republicans invested in them. And that's why we saw a right-wing shift. We can't allow that to happen again, because these are natural voters that will vote for the Democratic Party, but we just need to show up for them. Thank you.
Okay, the last question from me tonight is for everyone, but it is a 30-second question, okay? Everyone's gonna get a shot at it, but it's 30 seconds. Let's talk about fundraising. Fundraising for organizations is different than fundraising for a specific candidate. As the state party's chief fundraiser, how important to you is it to spend time seeking new financial investments from prospective donors? How much time will you dedicate to doing so? Let's start with Hardy.
Well, we'll start right on May 4th, making phone calls with core constituency groups, raising that money first in the state and then going nationally with some of our key organizations, whether that's the DPG. But I think one of the first things that I would do is work with our staff and identify who in the DNC, beyond Ken Martin, who says he's going to send $1 million to all of the state parties, where we can establish an MOU that would then allow us to reallocate the existing $1.2 million that we have. We should be able to do that through an MOU that allows us to reallocate those dollars that have not been used from a federal perspective, and then be able to deploy those dollars at down ballot races. That's how we jumpstart the Democratic Party on May 4th, right out of the gate.
Thank you. Charlie.
How much time? A hell of a lot of time is what I'm going to spend doing this. This is the thing that really only the chair can do. You're the principal. You're the one that's got to make the sale. Fundraising is really about showing some people some evidence so that they want to invest, they want to buy what you are selling. It is sales. It is not that different than what I've spent my career doing as a trial lawyer, where you get evidence in front of a judge or a jury and you convince them to do something. We're going to spend a ton of time doing it. We're going to revamp our small dollar fundraising, but we're going to go to our large dollar donors, rebuild that around the state, and then expand to a 50-state fundraising strategy to raise the tens of millions of dollars we need to raise.
Thank you, Charlie. Elena.
70% fundraising, 30% marketing. Why? Because we got to rebrand. We got to change our messaging. If we're trying to get new donors, we have to show them to believe and to give their money. Like they say in church, God loves a cheerful giver. They have to be cheerful enough to give to the Democratic Party, so we have to change the messaging in order for them to give. So that's why I said 70% fundraising, 30% marketing, getting the message changed out so we can let them know the Democratic Party is where they need to invest their money in order to get the resources, the legislation, all those various things that they need here through the state of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy.
Thank you. I'm a campaigner at my core, which means I work nutty hours. Nobody's gonna outwork me. And fundraising is a hard lift. We've done it, right? We have a team that has a plan. First thing I'm gonna do is check in with our team on their plan and help make sure they have the resources to get that plan, and then see if we need to revise the plan. We've gotta do better with the small donors, stop these scare tactic, nasty emails and text messages. That was 30 seconds.
Thank you. Nabila.
Okay, so I'm actually a professional major dollar fundraiser, as I said, raise money for the DNC state party and our county committee. I've raised $1.5 million for my own raises, but it is very different in raising party money. The Wisconsin Democratic Party has raised between $60 and $80 million. There are party donors across the country, and we need to be pitching to them and giving them something to invest in, and making the Georgia Democratic Party a credible investment. I know how to do that, and I'm confident that I can raise the tens of millions of dollars that we need for a strong state party operation, and implement a strong grassroots digital operation as well. Because grassroots funding is the foundation for so many state parties, and I'll make sure that's a priority. Thank you.
I put 100% of my time into making sure we raise money. Because there's no time that we should not be raising money, number one. Hundreds of million dollars already exist. If you look at the campaign from last year, from Georgia, $90 million went to Kamala Harris's campaign. So the money's here in Georgia. All we gotta do is put together a good plan, a good effort, and the money will come. But it's just gonna take us to make sure we're taking care of all Georgians, and we're meeting everybody at where they're at, and bringing everybody to the table. Millions of dollars is there for us. We just gotta get out there and ask.
Thank you. Okay, we're at the point in the program where you get to ask the questions. And we're going to need one of your microphones to do so. But if you have a question that you would like to ask these candidates, then please stand where you are. We'll bring a microphone to you and let you ask that question. While you're pondering your questions, the most important thing we do is elect Democrats, right? So I want to call out a few Democrats we have running for office that are in the room with us tonight. This year, we have a statewide race for public service, actually 2 races for Public Service Commission, 2 different districts. One of those candidates is Daniel Blackman, who's in the room with us tonight. I don't believe I see any other PSC candidates, correct? Nope. Just Daniel. Okay, great. Good to see you, Daniel. We also, next year, of course, you know, you'll have a chance to kick Andrew Clyde out on his hide. And we have two candidates in that race, Nick Alex, who is here with us this evening, and Gary St. Lawrence, who's also running in that race. And I think I also saw Lieutenant Governor candidate Richard Wright in the back. Any other candidates that we have here this evening? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Clarence Blaylock. I'm running for U.S. House District 14 against Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay. Make sure you come talk to this woman before you leave tonight, okay? All right. Any questions from the audience? Willis Crump, can we? Oh, okay. Kristen's bringing the microphone to you.
Yes, while attending Zoom meetings and everything, and just watching the news, the candidates or the elected officials no longer seem to have accountability or transparency. I've also seen that in our own party, which bothers me. I want to know what these candidates are going to do, because the money comes from us and we have a right to know where it's being spent.
Thank you, Willis. Why don't we let every candidate have a chance to answer this question? So we'll do 1 minute, and let's start with Nabila.
We need to be accountable for how we're spending dollars. You need to know where the money is going and how we're moving the needle with it. When we establish the budget, it should be shared with y'all so that you know that we are being good stewards of your funding, but also you need to know what your ROI is. How can we ask you for money again if you can't see what the work that we're doing? So I will make sure that that is a priority, and I will hold our state party accountable to that. Thank you.
Elaine.
My apologies, not remember your name, but I know you are the secretary, Mr. Secretary. I am big on transparency and accountability. We have been too silent as the Democratic Party. We have candidates, we actually have elected officials who are not voting on the Democratic ticket, who not align with the Democratic mission. We have to be bold enough to hold them accountable unapologetically. If they're not doing what they need to do for the Democratic Party, then we need to make sure we have them come to us. There should be a committee. I believe we can have a grievance committee to be able to do that, but we have to hold officials accountable. We need to make sure we have a process where we are actually vetting officials before we put them in office. We are not doing that. There may be a process put in place and possibly in the bylaws, but we have to make sure we align ourselves with the missions and the values of the Democratic Party. If they're not doing that, they're not good for us. They're not good for the people. We have to hold them accountable.
Charlie.
Willis, I understand your question to me, these Democratic elected officials that are not standing up for Democratic values. Is that right? What do we want to do about that?
I'm talking about the DPG.
Okay. Okay, all right, because we got two problems. I just want to make sure I address the right one. Look, you know, I've been on the state committee for since 2019, 6 years. But, you know, I don't have full visibility and everything like all of y'all. So let's speak into existence and say I'm chair. When I get there, I'm going to have to get under the hood. And I'm going to have to see everything that's going on. But what I'm going to do then, Willis, is I'm going to be transparent with the state committee and say, this is what we got, this is what's good, this is what's bad, this is what I'm going to do to fix it, this is how we're going to start. And building trust by communicating to y'all what I'm doing every step of the way, then hopefully you won't be sitting there and have to ask that question of what the hell's going on with my state party.
I'm so glad Charlie's joining me under that hood. Your congressional district chair, June Chris, will be the first one to let you know. We argue, we fuss about seeing the budget every single chance we can. Because we understand how important that budget is. That budget funds the train that moves the party. So when I am chair, I will make sure that budget is not just shared amongst the executive committee, but a sample of it will be shared with everybody who's a state committee member, who's a county chair. Because the one thing we keep holding to be private should be a public statement. Because when we start raising dollars, we want people scared of the Democratic Party. And the only way you can do that is showing what you can do with your power and your ability to raise money. Thank you.
Thank you. When I was president of Young Democrats of Georgia back in the early 90s, that's the first time I asked to see a budget, and they looked at me like I had 3 heads. It's public information. You're not going to go look at the FEC report or look at the state disclosure. I'm going to have y'all be a part of putting it together, finding the budget where it is, talking about if it's meeting our priorities, and getting that information to you in a meaningful way. Are we meeting our measures? Are we growing the way we need to grow? How's the high dollar fundraising going? How are we doing growing our raisers who are helping us raise money? How's the low dollar fundraising going? You're going to be a part of those conversations, and you're going to be a part of helping us change it if we need to change. Because we're going to be raising money to help our county parties, to give our congressional district chairs the resources to help you, to help our candidates. And we're not going to be able to raise the money if we don't regain trust. So the first place we need to regain trust is with all of you in the room. Thank you for that question.
I think the question took on a different form. We was talking about finances, but I'll start with the first thing. Number one, you asked, how do we hold DPG members accountable? It starts first and foremost with the bylaws. There's a code of ethics and conduct in the bylaws. We've got to deliver that. And it sounds like we're probably not doing that or do a good job of that right now. And so as your next chair, we become then the enforcement tool or mechanism to be able to adjudicate those matters to make sure that we're holding our members accountable. As it relates to finances, again, it starts first and foremost with making sure that we're having meetings with the State Finance Committee and that we're having meetings with the Strategic Planning Committee that have not happened for far too long. Those are the things when we talk about accountability and transparency that have to happen. And as a chair, we'll make sure that those things get done. It's no different than what I did as the mayor in the city of Augusta, Georgia.
Other questions from the audience?
So I'm guessing many in this room watched with envy while Wisconsin and North Carolina fought like maniacs for their Supreme Court seats. And we saw the chairs of those state parties on national media all the time explaining exactly why that was so important. 1 year ago, we had a candidate who boldly stood for choice here in Georgia. and the DPG effectively stood down. So what I want to hear from the 6 of you is A, what were you doing last June? And B, how might things be different when a Supreme Court seat and choice is on the ballot in Georgia in the future?
And Gene, you're referencing John Barrow's race? Okay. Just to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. Let's start with Jay.
That's cool. Y'all hear me well? I'm not gonna wait on the mic. Y'all hear me well? Yes. All right, I'm gonna step all the way in the hole.
I want them to hear you online.
All right, give me the mic. All right. First off, John Barrows used to represent me as a U.S. representative, because at one point in time, he represented Chatham County. John Barrows is a close friend of mine because he was actually my sister. My sister was a page for him in that system. I promise you, I called the narrative out 1,000 times. I asked, I emailed, I texted, I did everything possible for us to get into the room on that conversation. But we stayed quiet. If you give me your email, I'll share all that with you. That's what I did. Because I understood Georgia was just as important in that race. And we should have did everything possible to get John Barrow in that seat.
Wendy.
Thank you. I think almost everybody up here is going to say John Barrow's a friend of mine because he's a good man who's worked hard for the party for a long time.
He's represented 3/4 of the state.
Yeah, because they have gerrymandering him. So this harkens back to something we've had a conversation about in some of the other events. We have for way too long treated nonpartisan races as if that meant thou shalt not be partisan. That isn't what it means. We should have jumped in with both feet to support John Barrow. Lots of people in this room did. They worked their tails off. It wasn't enough because we didn't have the leadership. That can change, that will change. I want to be the leader that takes on those races where we have a clear Democrat in a judicial race. I want to take on these city races. What we can do in these city races, y'all, any single county, we can win city seats. And we have to. And that's going to be a story that we tell out of 2025 that helps us make sure we're top of everybody's money list.
Thank you. Charlie.
A year ago, I got called not just about John's race, but about Tabitha Ponder's race, who was running at the same time. We had 2 Democrats running, and Tabitha was running against a guy endorsed by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Wouldn't that have been good to have on a TV ad? It is absolutely outrageous that if we did not have the money to do it, that's outrageous. And if we had the money and we chose not to do it, that's even more outrageous. I placed a personal call at the behest of John Barrow with polling, Senate, and I made a passionate, you can ask my wife, she's here, she was there on a passionate argument that we have to be in the game. If we are not fighting for a woman's right to choose when it is on the ballot in Georgia, what the hell is the party even for? That's what I did, I wasn't listened to. But I'll tell you this, I win this race, that ends. That ends. There is no reason we cannot be doing exactly what Wisconsin did, and we'll do that if I'm chair.
The DPG should 100% should have been involved in John Barrow's race. His race should have been nationalized. We should have been talking about it 24/7. It was a great opportunity for him to also fundraise, but he needed help. I actually personally reached out to him, and he connected me with his finance director, and we looked over folks that he could reach out to raise money. So that's what I was doing. But as the chair, we need to use these opportunities, these Supreme Court races, which we absolutely need, and fight back and help our candidates. We can't just sit back. It is our obligation to fight and help our candidates. And so as state party chair, if we could rewind time, if I was there, I would have helped him. I would have helped him raise money. We would have been on TV together. He would have been more on TV. We would have figured it out. But we can't let these races go. These are opportunities and we need to fight back. Thank you.
Hardy.
I just want to say one thing before we move on, that this woman here was under severe cancer treatment. She spent thousands of dollars out of her own back pocket. She organized statewide signs. She had people and representatives at different events with John Barrow signs. And I think that we should say thank you to her.
Thank you, Gina, for that fighting spirit. The question is, what was I doing? John Barrow, last Blue Dog Democrat in the Deep South, my friend, he calls me on my birthday, December the 5th, and I call him every October on his birthday as well. I was campaigning for him. I was working to help him get elected. And that's what we'll continue to do for Democrats like John Barrow and others in this room and outside of this room who need support.
The question sort of changes a little bit. Well, the answer sort of
Changes a little bit. When I hear your story, and I heard my good friend over there actually say that you actually spent money out of your pocket, that's the problem right there. That lets you know the Democratic Party has not been available. And you asked what I was doing last June. If you actually go on my Facebook page, you see a big sign that says pro-life. I was actually in the trenches fighting for my pro-rights to be able to decide on what I can do versus those who don't even have a menstrual cycle telling me how to use my body. And so I was fighting for that. And so the issue that we're having here, and not to repeat what my colleagues state, is because the Democratic Party was not present during that time, I was working with organizations who aligned with the Democratic Party to get him elected. We were in the trenches, Working Family Party, Local Progress, all those various organizations. That's why I said the Democratic Party is missing those organizations that are actually boots on the ground. Instead of us trying to figure it out, we need to partner with people who are actually doing the work and to bring our resources together so that we can make sure we get our individuals, our candidates elected, so you don't have to pay $1,000 out of your pocket. We're sending it to you.
Audience questions. Yes, ma'am. Okay, Kristen's keeping up with the order. Okay. Kelvin, go ahead.
Question has been taken, so now I gotta reformat my question. So, in the leadership role of chair of the DPG, you are the CEO for the most part, so to speak. You're the person that's in charge. The buck stops with you. What in the name, what leadership position will you take if you observe your vice chairs are not performing? If your team is not doing what they were hired to do, what they were voted on to do, how will you act? How will you respond to that the rest of the state committee members are able to see that you're not just there for the money?
Thank you so much for that question. I've already created a 30-day plan. And the first thing I want to do is assess our staff to make sure that we all are aligned. Now, I'm not a person who's going to walk in the door and just get rid of everybody because we have a time limit. We are behind the ball game right now. So I want to make sure I assess our staff, look at their strengths, their weakness, and also our opportunity and threats. Those who take a business class, that's called your SWOT analysis. So I want to make sure that I'm doing all of that so it's in line. Now, we do have to review because this is a business. The Democratic Party is a business. You're paying the chair a salary and to do a job. So I have to do my job. And when I find out certain things are not happening and certain things have to occur, there are consequences to our actions. Displacement of responsibility. So we have to make sure that we have the people in line that are doing the job, that are in there to get those people elected. And if not, we have to change the game.
Nabila?
So I sat down with one of the vice chairs and I asked them about their experiences and, you know, what their budget was. I mean, and they told me, well, no, I got a budget. I was like, great, well, how much was it? And he said, well, it never got filled. So if we want our vice chairs to be able to do the work that they need to do, we ought to need to give them the resources to actually do their jobs. And so I would like to do, again, a needs assessment and sit down with our vice chairs and find out what's working, what's not, and see how we can help them perform at their jobs. I think that a lot of them have done a lot of great work with not a lot of resources, but I want to be able to empower them further. Thank you.
Charlie.
The vice chairs are elected, of course, by the state committee body. If they do something for cause, it can be removed. There's a process for that. But you know, once I get in there, we've got to evaluate, as Nabila was saying, what's everybody doing now? What have you been given? What support you've been given to carry out what your duties are? And then amongst the staff, who are the people that are working with you to carry out what you're doing? I mean, I don't anticipate a situation where somebody does something so bad that we got to go down the road of removal for cause or something like that. But specifically to your question, if it gets that bad, there is a process for that, and it is different, of course, than staff.
So maybe I'm not saying this right.
Yeah.
If you got a vice chair that is not able, for whatever reason, to accomplish their role, they're just, for whatever reason, they can't do it. It's not happening. It's not getting done. As the CEO, what is your role?
Well, because they are elected, I can't, with my own just, hey, you're gone, you know? Well, we got to help bring them along and see what is the problem. What is, you said for whatever reason, what is the thing that is preventing them from getting their job? Is it support? Is it staff that can help? You know, all those kinds of things to get them to the place where they can do their job. I mean, that's where we want to get to.
Thank you.
So that's why I did it.
Thank you, Charlie. Wendy.
Chairman Blue, I clearly understood your question. We've been here, we've seen it. Right now we have lots of times, through the ages, we've had wonderful, talented, hardworking people. But sometimes things aren't working. And you have to be a leader. Kind of leader I am. I don't want it in the headline in the AJC, fighting, whatever. Part of the reason I want to create teams is because sometimes people aren't suited for every aspect of what they need. I'm somebody, when I find an obstacle, if you can't sweet talk your way through it, get people to work better, I think part of our problem is we don't make tasks and responsibilities clear from the beginning, and we'll fix that. We have to give people support. Everybody else in the party are volunteers. It's about volunteer management. You don't throw a volunteer out if they're not good at making phone calls. You find something else for them to do.
Hardy.
Chair Kevin, I think much of what's been said, I support, but I think it also requires us to have organizational alignment. And I'm not sure that exists today. I haven't seen a job description for the job that I'm running for right now. And I'm not sure that any of us have. And so I think it starts first and foremost with that, and then making sure that from an organizational alignment, that we've got job descriptions for everyone, staff, and again, if we're part of the officers of the DPG, making sure that we're organizationally aligned. These are the things that I was very astute and good at as the mayor of the city of Augusta with 2,800 employees and $1 billion budget. And those are the things that I'm going to bring to this conversation as the next chair of the Democratic Party.
Jay is next, but before Jay starts speaking, the job description is at the top of the intent to run form. Go ahead, Jay. I know because I put it there. Go ahead, Jay.
And I know because I sit on the executive committee who passed it. So the easy question to that conversation is this right here. And I lost my thought just now. Chairman Blue, Chairman Blue, to address your question, you have 5 vice chairs. Each one of them have a designated title tied to their role. If they're not doing their role, you also have 14 congressional district chairs. They can be subservient for the chair and do that role and give that information up to the chair. There is more than one way, and like Wendy said, this ain't the first time the wheel has fallen off the car. We just gotta put the wheel back on the car and get rolling to our destination. And getting rolling to that destination is saying, hey, what can I do to each one of you as a vice chair to empower you to do your role? And we have failed to do that in time and time before. But we have to give them a budget, we have to give them the resources, we have to give them the tools, and we have to give them all the things necessary to get them to be able to do their job effectively and clear for the whole state of Georgia.
Thank you, Jay. Kristen?
Anybody on this side who's done this side of it?
This work? Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you, all of you who are running. This is a really critical job to lead our party going forward, so thank you for running. The question for all of you, where do you stand on endorsing Democratic candidates during the primary? Thank you.
Charlie?
We have a process for that. It requires, as I'm sure you know, 2/3 of the executive committee, 2/3 of the state committee. I'm in favor, but it's got to be used sparingly in a case-by-case situation. And for me, where we pull that lever, that is in a situation where we've got candidates in the race running the primary that are either really Republicans or they're acting like Republicans, or we got an elected official in office, which we have a few of those that act like Republicans. But you gotta have the evidence. I'm a trial lawyer. You can't just say someone has an opinion about it. You gotta have evidence of actions people have taken. And in that situation, again, this is all hypothetical, but in that kind of situation, I would be in favor of it. I don't think we need to just be, oh, we like this person more, so we should do that. It's got to be based on some evidence, and I think particularly tied to the whole ever-loving point we're here is to get people in office to fight for democratic values. If they're not doing that, then I think that's when we step in.
Party.
I'm cautious about endorsing candidates in primaries from a Democratic Party perspective because we then take the will of the people away from them. And we then, as a party, decide right out of the gate who that is. And so I'm very cautious about that. Case by case, is that something to give consideration to? Perhaps. But I believe in representative democracy. I may not like the person, but can they do the job? And so that's extremely important for us. And so that's where I am cautious. I want the people to decide as opposed to the party deciding, because they're going to have to represent everybody out there, and we might get it wrong.
Thank you. As I've mentioned, I've been involved in the state committee for a very long time, and when we passed this bylaws change to allow us to have endorsement process in the primary, I'll be very frank with you, I opposed it. And I opposed it because I don't think we should spend party resources fighting one Democrat after another. However, the premise at the time was if somebody's sneaking in and they're not really a Democrat, we need to have a tool to oppose them. We used that very effectively last year, frankly too late in the game, because people weren't listened to who should have been listened to, and I supported doing that. So we've just got to be very cautious because people right now are feeling like they don't have a voice. And if we are seen to be not just putting a thumb on a scale, but leaning on it, that hurts our credibility, and our credibility is already not in a good place.
I would say I'm on the fence about this, being a former elected official. And why? Because I've seen too many people be dinos, Democrats in name only. And so I know that the bylaws states the process of how we do that, but bylaws can be changed, just like laws can be changed in our legislative session every day, all day. The 45 days every session. So there does need to be a vetting process, because you do have candidates. You had candidates in the last election who were former Republicans and became Democrats and out true Democrats. And the Democratic Party did nothing. And so we have to have some type of process to stop that, because they're sitting in seats as Democrats but voting as Republicans. And so there is a problem. And so, yes, we may have changed the bylaws, but maybe we need to change them again and possibly put some type of vetting process to where it works with the local committees and work with them and train them on how to vet candidates. And when we do that, then we'll get a successful candidate. We have wasted so much time putting the wrong people in office.
Thank you. Nabila.
As someone that's been the underdog in every race that I've run in, I think that we should not put the DPG should not put the thumb on their scale. Now, as my fellow candidates have mentioned, case by case basis, we have a secret Republican. Yes, of course, we need to endorse against them. But it should be a fair process. I think we need to let the people decide. It's a primary of Democrats. Let's let our communities decide who's the best candidate and move from there. Thank you.
Okay, we're running close to time, but there are more questions? Yes, ma'am. She raised her hand. Jay, have you not? I apologize. I skipped right over you, Jay. Go ahead. You were number 5 on my list, and I skipped to 6. I'm sorry.
Got you. For everybody who's in here is a state committee member. We have a state committee member among us. If we would have did just that, as far as the endorsement clause and not getting that person in there, they would be a state committee member. And that is the person who ran for the 11th district as a congressperson. We came too late to the party to try to shut that down. Now, I agree that there's certain times and certain emphasis we should do it, but I don't believe we should make it a principle of something we stand on. I think it's something that we need to start looking deeper in depth into, because guess what? It's not just dinos. There's actual Republicans starting to run as Democrats, and they're bringing cash flow to the table, and they're going to start winning elections if we don't start doing a better job at it. And we've already talked about us as Democrats not doing the job. If we're not willing to put whatever institution we need to put in place to make sure that these people don't get elected, then we're going to be behind. Because there's a state that suffers behind that, and that's West Virginia. And y'all know what's going on in West Virginia.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question. I have a suggestion. After being on this committee for years, and all the frustrations that I have received and gone through because of the disorganization, I would like to make sure that whoever we choose as our leader work on organizing this committee. We shouldn't get today an email saying we could have gone on a Zoom meeting. We should have gotten that information 2 weeks ago. And it's been like that the whole time that I've been either a chair or a committee member. So I just like to make a suggestion, we get better at this committee.
Thank you. Question in the back here. We'll bring a microphone to you. Well, we'll try. They're not going to be able to hear you online.
They don't like us over here.
I have 2 questions.
Those minds are all made up, apparently.
I have 2 questions. One's really quick. Job description. I'm assuming we're going to pay a salary and give benefits, and I think that we should know what the range is. All right, I guess I got my answer.
You're asking for the salary?
Yeah.
The salary amount?
range.
The salary has been announced. It's already been established by the executive committee at $190,000.
Because
That was, and that was issued when we called for the election.
All right,
So all these candidates
instead,
know what it is.
As my friends in Jackson County will tell you, I get a little, early on, one of the questions, Mr. Jones said something that I found a little disturbing about we have processes in place, but we're not using them. And then we keep hearing about, I have a plan for this and a plan for that. And I love all the ideas, but I haven't really heard anything specific. What are you gonna do for Jackson County?
Specifically, what I will do for Jackson County is what I do for the 15 counties in the 1st Congressional District. I'm gonna go walk and talk to as many Democrats as I possibly can. Because the only way you're gonna fix the problem is know what the problem is. What I'm not hearing is there's a difference between rural North Georgia than it is rural South Georgia. I want that clear and understood. And I can say for a fact that June has more congressional district chairs and setups than I do down in rural Georgia. Because I'm gonna tell you now, South Georgia, we feel left out, lost, and we don't get any resources. That is the conversation in South Georgia. And that has been the conversation for as long as I've been a part of this party. But I don't look at the bad, I try to make good out of it. And what I do is I talk to my county chairs, I talk to my people, and I teach them and motivate them on how to go out there and raise money so they ain't gotta wait on the party to deliver money. I help them get signs so they ain't gotta wait on the party to get signs. Because when you teach a person how to fish, they'll fish for life. And I learned that a long time ago as a young person. Thank you.
Is your question addressed to everybody, or was it just to Mr. Jones? Okay, all right, everybody, here we go. Wendy.
Thank you. First of all, look at your schedule and tell me when you want me to come, and I'm gonna come and meet with Jackson County. What I'd like to do is, if you have a gathering of a lot of people, I'd love to do that. But before that or after that, whatever schedule-wise works in that time frame when I'm coming up there, I wanna sit down with your leadership and have a real set tea. I wanna hear what you're frustrated about. I wanna hear what you want. I'm anticipating spending the first several months getting hollered at. And I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna take notes, and we're gonna process finding out what's wrong and process finding out the solutions of how we do better. And before I leave that meeting where people are mad and fussing, we're going to breathe together and we're going to talk about ways we can move forward. Because that's how we make progress. Yep.
Party.
I'll echo the same things. I mean, we've got to start by listening to what's happening and what's going on in Jackson County. But I'll go back to our premise that how I started this conversation, and that is we've got to have year-round infrastructure, and that includes in Jackson County, and that starts with a hyper-local campaign. We've got to identify, recruit, and train Democratic candidates who are running for sheriff, county commission, city council, mayor, school board, as well as the judicial races and the district attorneys. That's what we have to do as Democrats, and that's how we will go move the state of Georgia forward, together.
Charlie.
A whole lot of listening from all of us. We're gonna listen to y'all and see what is it, y'all got a good county party there, but what is it you need? Is it particularly support you need, like, is it technical support you need, social media, communications, research, organizing training? What is it in particular y'all need us to help you with? But the other thing that I'll do for Jackson County, which I'm gonna do for all the counties, is I'm gonna raise a tremendous amount of money without which we can all just sit on the front porch and talk to each other about ideas. But if we ain't got a tremendous amount of money, I'm not gonna be able to do the support for you that I wanna do. I'm not gonna be able to spend directly in these campaigns to flip seats in the General Assembly like we wanna do. So my commitment to you is to bust my butt every day doing that, so that I can make sure I can provide y'all the support that y'all tell me you need.
As chair of the DPG, I will make sure that we do a needs assessment with Jackson County. I mentioned earlier that we don't have a strategic plan, and our county committees need to be a part of that strategic plan as we're putting it together. Your county party needs to have resources in order to execute GOTV. And the candidates that you recruit need training. I will make sure that our county parties not only get financial resources, but also we meet you where you're at, and we are able to train your candidates and also train our county committees on different types of tools that they can use to get out the vote. The whole work is for free, okay? And the onus is on the party to make sure that you guys have the resources in order to succeed. And I will make that a priority and be a real partner with our county committees. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. I've been saying that since day one. I said it in my intro. The first thing is listening. And I think you've heard it from everybody. And doing the research. Within the first 30 days, that was part of my plan, was going to the various areas that were not represented. One of the things that bothered me when I received the list for the committee, that there were so many rural counties that were not even represented that's going to be voting for us. And that's the rural counties you all are missing. A lot of y'all are not going to be voting for us. You're not even represented. And the problem I have is that no one thought to go figure out why. Why are people missing? Why are Democrats missing? Why are parties missing on this list that should be voting for the next chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia? That's a problem, because no one went to go look. So that means no one has come to your community to talk to you, to find out what's going on. I want to be that leader that sits down with you in an area with a group of people to find out what the problem is. You cannot fix the problem and have a solution unless you know what the issue is. Thank you.
Okay, we went a little long, but I wanted to try to cover as many questions as we could. That's all the time we have for questions. We're going to go ahead and move into closing arguments, but these candidates will be available afterward.
No questions from this side of the audience.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Although it is dangerous to give me the microphone. No, really, I gotta say, there's a lot of talent up there. And we're only going to take one of them. We got to make this work, and we got to use everybody. I mean, I hope we have can get together when this is done. But in any case, we've talked about such important things. I want to talk about one more thing, and I'm going to redirect it there. Recruitment. I think we suck. Is that direct enough for you? I come from Savannah originally, and yeah, I was raised by Irish, Greek, and black politicians, and they teach you the first rule of politics. There's only two kinds of people in politics, the quick and the dead. We're dead as hell. We are dead as hell. We do not recruit. Of course, we don't have enough money to recruit. So I agree with that piece about the money. But we have got to recruit. We got to get some folks organized. We got to go in all kinds of directions to make that happen. It's a statement, it's not a question, because I don't know how to ask that question. So
there's a candidate in the back of the room we recruited for the PSC race.
Hey.
All right, let's.
That's a good one.
Thank you, sir. Let's go ahead and move into closing statements, and we will start. This is 2 minutes, and we'll start with Elaine. Sorry. Go ahead.
You've all heard everything tonight. I'm not going to fill you with fluff like a politician to tell you certain things and not do it. If you look up my background, if I say it, I'm going to do it. I believe in accountability. If I'm not doing what needs to be done, constructive criticism helps a leader grow. I am here to listen. I want to make sure this party is strong and doing the things that need to be done. I want to raise the funding that's needed to get those candidates elected. I want to make sure I'm in your areas, that you actually see me, not sitting in a nice, beautiful office in a building. I want to make sure that I'm the boots on the ground, getting what's needed. The only way we can do that is if we work together. I want to work with the state committee team, the state committee members, and provide that transparency. A lot of you are left out of the loop, and that is not a good situation for the structuring of a business. Strategy is what we need. We need our playbook for the Democratic Party. We don't have one. I want to create that playbook within the first 30 days and delivered to all of the Democratic members in the state of Georgia. I don't want to leave you out the loop. You have to have a playbook to know how we're going to move forward in 2025 for June and in 2026, 2027 and beyond. We have to get those local elected officials electable in those various areas. Right now, your local elected official offices are the most important right now to combat what's happening on the federal level. They actually have home rule authority and do ordinances and various things. But guess what? The Democratic Party is not reaching out to them to make sure what happened on the state level and those laws that were just passed, to make sure we're protecting those on the local level. I want to make sure that we're doing all the things that need to be done for the mission and the values of the Democratic Party. And if we need to look over those bylaws, and I work with the bylaws committee and things that are not set, like you said, we have it in the bylaws, but we're not doing it, that is a problem. That is an issue. I am Elena Sanders, and I hope to be your next chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia.
Republicans have been in control of this state for 22 years. In the last 12 years alone, 12 hospitals have closed. Right now, of our 30 rural hospitals that are still open, 18 are at risk of closure. Every metric that judges the educational opportunity and attainment for our kids, we're last, second to last, third to last. We got a bunch of Republicans down in the Gold Dome that write a tax code to enrich themselves, billionaires, big corporations, and whoever the latest lobbyist to buy them a bourbon and a steak dinner and not working people. The people of this state have full cause to be pissed off at the lack of opportunity that they have. And we as Democrats and me as your chair, we are going to give voice to that anger, and we are going to wear these Republicans out every single day in the press in all these seats that we're going to flip to gain control, to get power for the people, not just to win a seat, but to get power for the people so we can do something for them, so we can protect their rights. My name is Charlie Bailey. I have spent my career fighting to get people justice. If you make me your chair, I will fight every single day for working people and the justice and the dignity that they deserve. I have been endorsed, and I'm proud to be, by almost 100 Democrats from across this state, the vast majority of which are state committee members. I tell you this, you put your trust in me, and I will not let you down. I promise you that.
I'm Hardy Davis, and I'm asking for your support. I've served you in the state legislature. I've served as mayor of Augusta, Georgia. And as a lifelong Democrat, I know what it takes to win, to govern, and to deliver. We're going to invest in hyper-local campaigns that allow us to build from the bottom up, not from the top down. We're not going to be investing in pop-up politics in every presidential and gubernatorial campaign. But when we say we're going to come and stand up Democratic parties in local counties, we're going to do that year-round. Not just in word alone, but in deed. And we're going to make sure that our money matches our mission. And we're also going to bring young Democrats into this conversation where they're holding the microphone and where they are seen as partners and not just volunteers. And we're going to rebrand the Democratic Party so that it's a party that works for all Georgians, not just a select few. From kitchen table issues of good jobs, good schools, and safe neighborhoods, because that's what matters to all of us. I'm Hardy Davis, and I'm asking for your support on May the 3rd.
My name is James J. Jones, and I'm running to do something I've already been volunteering to do for a long time. I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to disappear because I've already been doing the work. On non-election years, I've been giving 20 hours already to the Democratic Party. Election years, I'm giving 40 hours to the Democratic Party. So why not step up and run for chair? Because I'm already a part of the structure. There's nothing wrong with the structure. Yes, it needs revamping. Yes, it needs some help. But guess what? The problem with the structure is we just need a leader who moves it. Because we move it in the right direction, every Georgian will be appreciated and put into the right cycle of what needs to happen. And that conversation has to be where we talk to people in rural Georgia and urban Georgia, white and black, old and young, and everybody who has a problem with what we're going through right now. Kim and all those people been in that gold dome for too long. And the only way you're going to get him out that gold dome for too long is you fight fire with fire. We're going to keep losing if we're not willing to fight the fight that they're coming to bring to us. Georgians, we can deliver. As Democrats, we have delivered. And we will deliver. And I promise you, as your next chair, I will deliver a successful campaign to get us in the gold dome in Georgia. Thank you.
I'm running for chair because we have to fight back. We have to fight back like our lives depend on it. We have to fight back for working people and against the atrocities that the Republican legislature is doing to our families and against this Trump administration. I'll tell you that right now, we need young people more than ever to be in leadership positions. We've seen a lot of state party chairs. In North Carolina, we had a 25-year-old. Young people need to lead because we need to energize young folks. But I also have the skill set to put together an operation that will get out the vote in Georgia. I've been approved in fundraiser and raised over $50 million for Democrats. I can do that for the state party. I'm confident I can do it. I'm a proven organizer. I've gotten tens of thousands of folks out to vote, and I know how to win. And also, we need a strong messenger. We need to take the fight to the Republicans, and we need to be loud about it. And I got the receipts that I've done that, and I will continue to do that. So, I'm asking for your vote, for your support, and I will fight with you and fight for you. Thank you so much. I'm State Senator Nabila Azam-Parks.
First, I want to thank you again for being here tonight and for your terrific questions and for your patience with what you've been through and the fact that you're still here. Thank you. Our party has let you down. We have a chance to fix it. There's 7 of us running. All of us say we want year-round organizing. We're going to do it. We're going to raise the money to make that happen. Everybody doesn't necessarily want to do it the same way. The way I want to do it is through starting with a foundation. And that foundation are our county committees and the leaders in this room. Because you know your communities best. I'm going to let you lead, but I'm not going to leave you out there floundering and wondering. We're going to get together. We're going to have teams of people to come help whatever help you need. And if there are people in your county committee who are leaders, these messaging people, June, the work y'all have been doing, the work that they've been doing about messaging, we're going to take you to talk to other people. Rural people need to talk to rural people. We're going to get it done. We have so many leaders, so much wisdom, so much energy, and we've been fighting amongst ourselves and going, hey, you're going to pay attention to me. Yes, you're going to lead. You're going to be the heart of it, and that's how we're going to build a coordinated campaign. You're going to be ready to accept those organizers. We're going to raise the money to get them here sooner than you think, right? And they're going to be at home in your county, and you're going to make sure they're going to know, y'all know what's going on in that county, and they're there to support you and help you get those volunteers to knock the doors and make the phone calls, but more importantly, to connect with your neighbors, to let them know the Democratic Party values them, is fighting for them, and we're in this together. Whether our neighbors want to be Democrats or not, we still care that their lives are better. That's what makes us different. Again, I'm Wendy Davis. Go to wendyforus.com to see my extensive background and bold plans.
Y'all give these candidates a hand, please. On behalf of the Democratic Party of Georgia, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I want to thank our live stream audience for joining us virtually. This video will be archived on YouTube, so folks can go back and watch it along with our other videos for our forums. A huge, huge, huge thank you. Tonight would not have been possible without the heavy lifting of Willis Crump. Thank you, Willis. Thank you, Margaret Payne, Chair of the Stevens County Dems, June Chris and Canola Scott, our congressional district chairs who moved heaven and earth, and thank you to the Georgia Federation of Democratic Women at the state level, the 9th Congressional District, and Fannin County. Reminder to all of you, please visit our website at georgiademocrat.org/DPG election to find more information about our next forum in Statesboro and the Unity fundraiser on May 20th. Thank you. Have a good night.